Hello and welcome everyone. This is Miss Farah here. I'm here to talk to you for COM1110 English communication skills. Okay, so how are you guys doing? I know it's been a while since we met each other. The last time that we saw each other was way back before the RMO started. And I do apologize and I admit some part of it is a bit of confusion. Whether or not we should do online classes or not. So there was a bit of gray area, unknown situation going on. But right now we have decided to proceed with online recordings. So to substitute your face-to-face classes, we shall be proceeding our class with some recorded lectures. So I'm just going to record like I'm doing right now, and I think we have been quite accustomed with this system where I'm just going to record my lecture and then I'm posting it in my YouTube channel, and you guys go ahead and watch the recorded lesson. Now, it's very important for you to watch and to do the online task that I give you guys. Why? Because that will be your attendance throughout this RMO session. Okay, so how are you guys coping with the social distancing thing going on? How are you? Have you gone insane at your respective home? I hope not, and I hope that you guys are definitely safe with your family, or if you are at the hostel because you guys are international students, please do, if you need any help, please don't hesitate to email me and ask for my help, and I would try my best to help you. Okay, so let's move on. There are a few important things that I want to highlight in this recording. And to be honest, I have recorded myself with the same slide here, but there is a bit of change that I have to do, which is why I'm delaying this lecture, and now is the right time for me to actually put it out there. So now is the right time. I want to talk about your assessments, in particular to your test 2. So now, because we are in quarantine, we are now in at our respective homes. Life must go on, unfortunately. So we have decided to do your test 2 to be an online test. So because this is an online test, I've decided to make it as an open book test. I'm going to reveal about open book test or test 2 in a bit, but it will be definitely next week on Monday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Hence, it will be on the day of our class, during our class time, so you have no other reasons not to do this. So this is very important. This is 10% of your marks. So if your friends happen not to have internet connections, or please do reach out to me saying that, Miss, I do not have an internet connection, therefore I can schedule a new one for you. But if you do not reach out to me, I'm assuming that you are good with your internet connections, therefore you have to go for this online test. Okay, I also would like to remind you on a few things regarding your report assignment. So your report writing, I'm assuming that you have spread the words, you have started collecting your data, and maybe some of you guys have managed to get 100 people as your respondent. Therefore, you can start analyzing your data. Now, I think that analyzing data can be a little bit intimidating. It could be a little bit hard. If you need any help, you can just simply send me a draft, and then I'll try to work it. If I think that we need to do an online consultation, I can and I will have an online consultation with you by scheduling you guys to an appointment for a virtual meeting. Okay, if it's necessary. If not, I think an email would just suffice. Moving on is your oral presentation. So by right, we're supposed to do a face-to-face oral presentation, but I think because we are not very much sure on what's going to happen, so I've decided to make your presentation to be an online presentation. So I'm going to talk about your online presentation in the next video, but I have decided instead of doing a group presentation for your for your oral presentation, I've decided to make it as individual. Okay, so I'll be talking about it in a separate video, so don't bother thinking about it yet. I also would like to remind you that you also have an individual assignment, which is the reflective essay on Gabriel Fernandez, and that is also due next week. Okay, but that one will be on Friday. Okay, so that is basically it for 60% of your course marks. I have no idea what's going to happen with your final exam. Hopefully everything will be over, or else we're going to have to come out with something and you guys will be informed about it. To further illustrate on what's going to happen throughout the remaining of our semester, this sort of like chart basically summarizes what will happen. Next week is week 12. In week 12, you have two things going on. The first one will be your reflective essay, and that is due on Friday. Whereas the second one is your test 2. This will be conducted on Monday on the time of your test. All you need is a computer and internet connection, and I'm going to talk about it in a bit, so don't worry. And then in week 13, you have your report writing. I'm so sorry, your test 2 is in week 12, it's not here. And lastly, in week 14 is when you have to do your oral presentation, and that is 10%. Okay, so kindly, this is just a gentle reminder about your reflective essay. It's due on Friday. I have one student sending her draft to me. So if you feel like you want to submit a draft to me, you are allowed to do so, and I'm more than happy to assist for your draft so that you can get higher marks for your reflective essay. Okay, now I would like to talk about your test 2. Test 2 will be held on 6th of April 2020. It's on Monday next week, and the time slot will be the same as your class, as your scheduled class, which is 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now, I need you guys to help me to tell all of your friends, all of your classmates, that we're going to have your test 2 next week. Okay, so any of your friends feel like they do not have internet connection, or sort of like problems with their laptop or whatever yada yada, please ask them to email me as soon as possible. Okay, and I also need to know what are your legit reasons, because or else I cannot reschedule you to that test. Okay, so that test will be an open book test. As I mentioned, it's online, and the test will only be open sharp at 2 p.m. and it has a certain password. I'm only going to reveal the password at 2 p.m. that day. Okay, and because we're working with computers, they are very accurate. Sharp at 4 p.m. it will be automatically closed. You only have one attempt to do the test, and just so that you guys are on the safe side, please finish early so that you can submit. Just in case if you have trouble with your internet, you can have that buffer time, yeah, to do it. Okay, so because this is an open book test, you are definitely allowed to refer to some external sources if you want to when you're doing the test, but please remember you only have 2 hours, and you're not allowed to copy word by word from the original source. If you happen to do so, that is what we call plagiarism, which is an academic offense. So if you're found committing plagiarism, your marks will be divided into half. Now, so for example, this test is 10%, and then I mark your test and you got 8. But when I compare your marks, and I feel like I will put into Turnitin. So basically Turnitin is it's a software that detects if you manage to copy from any kind of sources. It detects websites, it detects books, it detects journals, articles. So if your Turnitin report indicates a higher plagiarism, I will have to divide your marks into 2. So just now you got 8, divide by half, hence you only allow your marks will be 4 out of 10. Okay, so test 2 would have 2 questions. The first question is on interpreting graph, which is something that we learned before, and secondly is writing an email, which is simple. Remember, when you write your email, you have to follow the format that I taught you guys. 5 plus 1 plus 5. Okay, so please remember that you're gonna have your test next week. Now, just now I mentioned that your test will cover email as well. So what I want you to do now, hopefully you have a piece of paper or you have a book in front of you. I want you to pause this video, and I want you, like, basically this is just a test of your honesty. I want you to write the format of an email. Please pause this video and then try to write that 5 plus 1 plus 5, and we'll see if you can actually remember what you learned from previous class. Okay? Alright, have you done? I hope that you have done. So can you please check the formatting for email? This is very crucial. As I mentioned, everything has to follow a certain order. What I mean by that is that I need it to start with from. You cannot start with 2. If you want to start with 2 and you put from down here, I have to deduct your marks 0.5. Okay, so when doing this, as I mentioned, the acronym that I taught you guys is 5 plus 1 plus 5. Why is it so? Because there are 5 things up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5, 1, 5. Okay, so when writing an email, please remember that your email addresses have to be professional. So when I talk about professional, if there is a certain context that say that you guys are working with certain company, you have to use that company's affiliation. So your email addresses should signify, should suggest your company. Okay, CC is also important. Even though that you don't want to CC, you don't want to carbon copy anybody, you can just leave it empty, but you still have to write this in your writing. Okay, so CC, both C are capitalized. Okay, if you don't do this, your marks will be deducted. Now let's talk about subject. When we want to write the subject in an email, it needs a bit of a context in a way that it can suggest what is the main idea, what's the main content in your email. And that is the first thing that people are going to read when they receive your email. So it has to basically simplify or summarizes everything that is written in your main body paragraph. But you don't have to put everything in there. It just the right amount of words or information there. Okay, so it's really aji-baji in a way. I don't know how to actually, say concisely what's the formula to a subject, but it should not be too simple, and it should not be too, detailed. Please remember that you're not allowed to make it caps lock. In a way, it's not all capitalized in your subject. Let's talk about salutation now. So if you don't know who you're writing to, as I mentioned in class, just write Dear Sir / Madam, do not forget a comma. So if you know who you're talking to, depending on the gender, you can say Mr. or you can say Miss and the name of that person and comma. The first paragraph, it's always the introduction. In your introduction, always mention your name. Even though that you are close with the lecturer or you're close to the person that you are emailing to, it's always a good email ethic to introduce yourself. So when you're introducing yourself, write your name, write your matriculation number, yada yada. Okay, so you can also start with a greeting. You can start with hello, good day if you want to, or greetings from International University, for instance. And in your first paragraph as well, I want you to write the main objective of why you're writing this email. So I am writing this email to inquire, to request, or to inform, blah, 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 blah. So in your test or in your final exam, we would definitely tell you guys what are the things that we want you guys to do. So for each task, it has to be divided into different paragraphs in the message itself. Okay? Closing is very simple. All you have to do is just memorize this very wonderful sentence here. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Leave taking is sincerely, comma, or you can say yours sincerely. Do not forget S here and then put a comma, or you can say best regards, comma, and then put your signature here. Remember, when it comes to signature in an email, do not put like an italicized, or maybe you want to put like a cursive writing, writing of your name to indicate signature. You do not have to do that, okay? Signature in an email is only including your name, your position, and also your contact number if it's necessary. Okay, so that is basically the format for email which will be tested in your test too. So please go ahead and study them, all right? In today's lesson, I would like to cover few things, and before I do that, let me remind you again on your learning outcomes. So your learning outcomes for this course are: the first one, to write an effective business letters, email, memos, and report with appropriate format and language in terms of structure, tone, style, conciseness, and diction. What I want to highlight here, when you're writing business writings, what I can see a lot of you guys are lacking when we do like an in-class task is politeness. When it comes to business writing, you want to be able to communicate effectively. One of the best ways is to sound polite. So this is something that I really want to highlight in this course, because I understand that you guys might be young, that you guys might not know what are the professional ways or the polite ways of saying certain things. That is why we need this course. We need to educate you on how to write proper, ethical, and polite email to someone. Okay? We also would like you guys to express your main idea, supporting details clearly and coherently in written business communication. Hopefully, by the end of this semester, you should be able to analyze a business problem, present a credible recommendation to overcome the problem. So we're looking at your creativity on how you want to solve and deal with certain things, and this will be greatly applied in certain questions in your business writing. Lastly, hopefully at the end of this course, you should be able to present. So we're looking at the presentation skills now, salient information gathered from the report clearly to an audience. Okay? So right now we have moved into business writings. So in business writings, what we can test you guys on are three things. First one is email, letters, and memos. So you need to be able to master three different formats for this business writing. So in your final exam, you should only be tested on these three things. Okay? But when it comes to email and letters, you guys, or we as the instructor, are able to test you guys in 4 different domains or different situations, if you can call it. The first one is if you want to write a complaint. So when you're writing a complaint, it can be either in a form or using the format of an email or even letters. Or we want you guys to make a letters of adjustment or emails, or in other words, trying to reply to the complaints. So here we're hoping that you should be able to take ahead or put it in a point of view as somebody who works with the company. Next is when you try to write letters or email to inquire or to request for something. And then lastly, we want you to be able to reply or to use the perspective of the workers, of the employees, to reply back to your inquiry and also for your requests. All right, so these are the things that you guys will be tested in your final exam. Now I want to look at the letter of complaint. So basically what letter of complaint is trying to express your dissatisfaction on a service. Remember this, as polite as possible. And I cannot tell you guys how much I use this skill to different companies, and I can assure you this is a life-changing skill. Okay, so I have used this letter of complaint to write to AirAsia, and I got a credit for our flights back, and it's 4,000 worth of credit. Okay, so it's a lot of money, and I managed to do it because I'm able to apply this skill that I'm using for. Not only that, back then I decided to we planned for a vacation at Fiji Island, somewhere in Pacifica, and unfortunately 1 or 2 days before our flight there was a natural disaster where our flights are cancelled, and even our accommodation it was severely affected because of natural disaster. And thankfully I got a travel insurance to cover everything for me. But I've decided to email to booking.com because of our hotel bookings, and I think it cost us around 500 New Zealand dollars just for the hotels. And using this skill, I managed to get back and to reschedule my hotel bookings. So what I'm trying to say, that I use this skill for many different occasions, and thank God I managed to get what I want. The key to this is to be able to write something as polite as possible. And you want to make sure that they know that you guys are the consumer right now, but you don't want any problem. You just wanted them to solve your particular problem. Okay, so this is something that I want to teach you guys. It's very important. It's very useful, and I'm pretty sure that you guys will thank me one day for this. Okay, let's see on how we can do this. So I want to introduce you first and foremost into what is actually letters of complaint. It's going to be a bit boring, but bear with me. So basically, theoretically speaking, letters of complaint is when you want to inform to a company or a business company regarding different things. So it could be in a form of, trying to say that their product does not work, or product failures, or you can even write to that company because you're not satisfied with the service that they provide. Or you can talk about how, the product comes late, or it's not when it's expected to arrive, or even when there's a misinformation coming from the advert or anything that comes from their company. So for misinformation, the example would be, for instance, you found a flyer, or you found like a menu, like a flyer like a commercial advertisement, saying that if you come here during 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then we can give you buy one free one. But when you get there, when you got to the company and you wanted to redeem for that coupon or for that, promotion, they said that it does not, it's not working or it's not valid. So you can actually write to them, because you're saying that this is the advert that you promised, but you didn't give what you promised. So it's a bit of misinformation going on. So you can go ahead and ask them to a few things. You can ask them for maybe maybe you want to get another coupon, like a voucher or something, so that you can say that you are misinforming the public on the services that you're trying to give us. Okay, so that is some of the ways for you to use it. Alright, so remember, you can basically complain about any single thing, but please make sure that it is supported by grounded reasoning. You can't just go baseless, like out of nothingness you want to create trouble, you want to create drama. That is something that we do not want to do. So you don't want to be the fussy customer here. You just want to be the best consumer in a way that you get the service that you deserve, basically. All right. So when it comes to formatting in business letters, you have to follow the formal letter format. And for this, I have uploaded this in week 10's folder. So you go ahead and study that. When it comes to content, we're looking at 3 different separate sections here. First one, and the good news is it's always following the same thing that you learned in email before. So in the introduction, as I mentioned, always provide greetings. You want to provide who you are, a bit of background information about you. You're the consumer coming from where, blah blah blah. And do not forget to write the background of your problem. So what's an issue, what happened, when did it happen, blah 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 blah. In your body paragraphs, as I mentioned, depending on the questions, depending on the context that we give you, you have to write into different and separate paragraphs. So I'm going to teach you one skill or one life hack, if you can say it, on how you can provide details in your complaint using this acronym CES. Okay, so if you write, or if you're able to write a paragraph consisting of this CES, you should be able to have enough information to cover the issues that you want to highlight on. And lastly, in your conclusion, you want to put a bit of like a warning, okay? Like you just want to say that I'm the consumer and I buy your service and I deserve the best. But if you don't do anything about it, da 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 da. And I'm going to teach you in a bit on how you can do that so that you can get the service that you deserve, but using a very polite language, okay? So let's look into the format of a formal letter. As I mentioned, I have given you an example of it in week 10's folder. You can have a look at it. It's pretty similar to the email. It should be very easy, but a bit of tweak, okay? So in your formal letter, you need to start with your name as the recipient and also your address. So it could be your home address, it could be your office address, however you want to do it. Then provide a date. Then give us the name of the person that you're sending to, and not to forget their address. Similar to email, you also need a salutation. As I mentioned, if you do not know who you're writing to, please just go general and say dear sir / madam. But if you know who you're writing to, depending on their gender, please write dear Mr. or Mrs., the name of that person, and comma. In introduction, as I mentioned, give us your objective and why you are writing this letter. Do not also forget to give a bit of background information or context about your problem. In message and body, it depends on how many points that we want you to write on. Please make it into different and separate paragraphs. As I mentioned, closing can be very, very simple. All you have to do is just memorize. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Leave taking is similar to your email. Yours sincerely, yours faithfully, best regards, then comma. Signature, what's different about signature in formal letter is that you're able to sign it. Okay, so you can sign it and give us your full name, your position, your company, and also your contact detail if it's necessary. Okay? Right. So there are a few things that you have to remember when it comes to writing letters. Okay? So number 1 is that you have to be specific. Try to be very, very specific in a way that when does that problem happen, what date. If you can give us the name of that person who's involved with your problem, it's even better. Okay, so as I mentioned, provide the details, write the date, write the time, and always go straight to the point. Don't go right left, go straight to the point. And this is the most important one. Yeah, try to suggest some solutions, or else you just sound like an angry like an angry Adama, like an angry aunties trying to complain about anything but do not provide a valid solutions. So you just sound like like a crazy person. So it's always good for you to provide solutions. And last but not least, obviously you have to be polite, okay? But here comes the big question. How can you be polite when you are very, very angry and you want to complain about everything? Now, there is a trick to it. You use certain words, subtle words, if you can say it. So, let's see. So, if you want to concentrate on, if you want to use impolite, there are two things here. You can say impolite words and also polite words. So if you want to say problems, instead of saying problems, because it's gonna, it can have like this negative connotations behind it. Instead of saying problems, say issues. Instead of saying I want to complain, use I want to address. So instead of saying I'm very angry, try to use the word disappointed. I'm very disappointed. Instead of using that vulgar words of stupid or idiot, you can say unprofessional. Okay, so these are some of the wonderful words, subtle words that you want to use in your business writing so that you can sound a bit more profesh. Okay. Now, I want you to consider this one particular situation that we have here. So right now, what we have here, you has just recently ate a very prestigious restaurant in Kuala Lumpur. However, you notice that the service was not as what it was advertised. There are 3 issues here. So when I see there are 3 issues in your main body paragraph, I'm expecting 3 different paragraphs, yeah? The first one, many of the menu items were not available. Number 2, smokers were allowed to smoke in a non-smoking area. So rude. And thirdly, the waiter, only one person, was disrespectful. The task is for you to write a complaint letter to the restaurant to voice out your views. I'm going to give you a bit of an example on how to do it, but I also want you guys to try this on your own and try to post on Blackboard for this. Okay, so let's have a look first into the introduction. What should you write? So in your introduction, try to consider some of these questions. First one, what happened? 2, where did it happen? 3, when did it happen? 4, who was involved? So basically in the introduction, you might want to consider using all of the WH and W5, W1H, those questions, the who, what, when, blah, 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 those questions, yeah? Some of the words that you might want to use when, doing the introduction, you can say, I'm writing to inform your company of my dissatisfaction. Or you can say it with great displeasure that I'm informing you. That sounds a bit British and, Queen voice. But yes, it's also a good and professional way of saying it. Or you could just simply go straight forward and say, I would like to express my disappointment on your service, particularly on blah, 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 blah. Okay? So this is an example of it. I write this letter to express my dissatisfaction on the services I received at your restaurant in Kuala Lumpur. I arrived at your restaurant on Sunday at 6 p.m. I came to your restaurant following an advert I received, but unfortunately, I was not satisfied with the services provided. So here, it answers to all of those questions. What happened, when did it happen? It has a very specific time as well. It's on a Sunday, 6 p.m. So, as I mentioned just now, I'm going to teach you guys on how to do body paragraph using CES. So, for each issues that we identified earlier. So we have 3 issues here. So I want you to use this CES. C is cause. So basically, one cause, you have to tell us what happened. And E is the effect. What has it resulted to? So what has it affected on your experience at the restaurant? And definitely S, don't just complain, you have to give the solution, obviously. So what can they do to improve in future? So what do you think that could be done so that it's better service next time? Okay, so as I mentioned, each issue should be addressed in its own paragraph. So if you have 3 issues that you have to address, I need to see 3 different body paragraphs. Okay, so let's see an example here. So first, I'm using a very wonderful transitional word firstly here. Firstly, many items on your menu were unavailable. The advertisement that I received showed at least 50 different selection of food that I may order. This issue resulted in my family to not be able to enjoy what we expect. Rude. This can be considered as false advertising. I suggest that the management please be more alert on the availability of the menu items. So here, first you have to answer what is the cause of the event to happen or this issue. So here the cause is that there are many items that are not available, and then you give a bit of more information about it. You say that the advert showed that you need to give us at least 50 different food, but you didn't. Then what is the effect? E, the issue resulted in my family not being able to enjoy what we expect. And lastly, what's the solution? I suggest that the management please be more alert on the availability of the menu items. See, that is how you use CES. Okay? Lastly, in your conclusion, as I mentioned, you want to put just enough warning not to intimidate people in a way that making people hate you as the customer, but try to be a reminder, try to make it as a reminder for the business purpose for them. So remember not to be too harsh. Sometimes you need to listen to their part first, then only you can know what's the problem, what's the issue. Third, remind them to quickly solve the issue so that it will not happen in future. Let's see how can we do this. Some of the languages that you might want to use are these languages. Please be aware that if the issue is not resolved, I may terminate any future business with your company. Ooh la la. Okay, bit of attitude going on there. But you can even say it something very nicely, like if these matters are not resolved quickly, I'm afraid the company will lose customers. Or you can say the consumer tribunal will be informed if the requests that I made are not entertained. Ooh. Or you can say that I hope to receive good news from the company soon. I sincerely hope that the company will provide to me with an explanation on the matter. So a real example that I use for the booking.com, I mentioned to them that I am a frequent traveler and I often use booking.com as my main travel booking place, as a main medium for me to book my hotels when I travel. So I mentioned to them I don't want to look for a different booking alternatives, but if you don't help me with this issue, or if you don't resolve this issue, I might consider using other companies. So basically you try to give them try to say, oh, if you don't solve me or you don't help me with this, I might gonna use a different one. And yeah, to be honest, I stopped using booking.com after that. I actually use more Traveloka and anything else, but it does not matter. So as long as you got what you want, and then that is the main objective, right? You want to get what you want. Okay, all right, so I'm done talking. What I want you to do now, I want you to use the same situation that we had earlier, but now try to construct your own letter, your own self. So try to do this. This could be a very good exercise for your final exam as well. Okay, so please provide your answers on Blackboard. I have made a discussion board. All you have to do is just start doing that. Okay, so I want to see that, and please remember about your test too. If some of your friends that you know are struggling with internet connections, please ask them to email me, or if you can kindly email me on behalf of them so that I can schedule a different time for them to do the tests. Next time is also great. Okay, so if you have any problem and if you want to give me a draft of your report writing or even for your reflective essay, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, all you have to do is just email me. Thank you so much for joining me in this Blackboard session, or in this pre-recorded session. Please continue to study online, and I shall be posting one more new video at the end of this week as well, because this one should cover from week 10, and I'll be posting a new one for week 11. Please stay tuned, and do not forget that you have your test next week. So please study, okay? Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.